What's your reaction to Russian drone incursion into Poland?
Could have been a mistake.
I think it's high time that President Trump should see that Putin is mocking him. Instead of a ceasefire that was supposed to happen before the Alaska summit and serious peace talks, Putin is sending more and more drones, first at Ukraine and now at NATO. So I hope that at the end of this process, we have a series of coordinated moves to make President Putin realize that this exotic project of rebuilding the Russian empire will not stand.
What do you know? The sweeping tariff changes from the Trump administration are not just rattling global trade, but they're wreaking havoc on international mail delivery and America's reputation overseas, if there's a reputation to be saved, that is, after the past 9 months.
When I got involved, it was a mess. Biden left us a mess in everything. The economy, inflation, everything was, he was the worst president we've ever had in this country.
American dream is looking more like a nightmare for some working families.
Inflation in August ticking up to 4.3%, the highest since 21. Manufacturing activity shrank in August, 6 months running. Unemployed workers exceeding job openings. If Biden had numbers like that, you'd be on Fox.
According to reports, postal traffic into the US has plunged and alliances are fraying as more than 80% of international parcels now ground to a halt almost overnight.
It's known as the de minimis exemption. Items entering the U.S. valued at less than $800 were not subject to import taxes, but on August 29th, that exemption was eliminated by President Trump.
If you roll back that de minimis policy and all of these kinds of packages under $800 also face tariffs, small consumer goods, again, like retail, are going to face significant cost increases.
Eliminating the de minimis exemption has caused mail entering the U.S. to plunge by 81%, according to the United Nations Postal Union. 88 postal operators around the world have suspended all or some postal services into the United States as carriers struggle to adapt and implement new systems. Small businesses that ship directly to U.S. consumers are being hit hard.
People who used to request us to send artifacts in small parcels will stop completely, because who will pay the duty on such items? We are still struggling to recover from the business slump caused by COVID-19, and many artisans have already lost their jobs. This new regulation will further threaten our livelihoods.
The UN Postal Union, along with national postal systems and commercial carriers, are working on new technology to calculate and pay tariffs on these small U.S.-bound items.
So the idea is to return to this new normal as soon as possible. Nevertheless, the development, the testing and the implementation of the new solutions which comply with the new requirements takes time.
Some postal officials estimate it could be months before solutions are in place and these small parcels begin flowing into the U.S. again. Once shipments resume, those packages will face tariffs that are currently between 10 and 50%. According to the White House, an exemption remains in place for gifts valued at less than $100. But otherwise, when these shipments resume, American consumers can expect to pay more for these low-value items.
This report comes after the US formally ended its, quote, de minimis exemption, which means packages that are valued under $800 previously entered duty-free, but now they are subject to customs duties. And this was announced in late August. But the ramifications, well, they've been devastating.
So this starts on Friday. So basically any package that comes into the U.S. valued at under $800 will have to go through customs and will have to be tariffed, basically taxed. That was waived before under what's called the de minimis tariff exemption. But President Trump effectively ended that after signing an executive order last month. But as you mentioned, there's major questions over how this is going to work, what information is needed for these packages, as well as who will be the ones doing the processing on this. So because of all this gray area right now, these companies have decided to just hit the pause button, take a step back, wait and see as more information comes forward in terms of how this is all going to work going forward. You know, just in the last week or so, U.S. Customs gave out some technical details on how this will work going forward. So it's a pretty quick turnaround from technical details to implementation. So another reason why some of these companies are waiting so long.
The policy change wasn't limited to China or Hong Kong, it now applies globally. All countries must adjust to new protocols where carriers or customs-approved intermediaries collect duties. And according to the Universal Postal Union, mail and parcels to the US dropped by 81% in just 1 week compared to the prior week. Some 88 postal operators have just suspended all or part of their shipment services to the United States until clarity emerges on how to comply. But I'll respond to that with good luck getting clarity from these people.
Inflation in August ticking up to 4.3%, the highest since 21. Manufacturing activity shrank in August, 6 months running. Unemployed workers exceeding job openings. If Biden had numbers like that, you'd be on Fox saying, what's going on?
So the economy that Donald Trump owns starts at the end of this year. You can't get
that way.
Hasbro says they're going to have to increase their prices. Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers. So just bottom line, Mr. Secretary, do you acknowledge that these tariffs are a tax on American consumers?
No, I don't.
Even though you have companies saying they are going to have to increase prices, and given the fact that 86% of these tariffs so far have been paid by Americans.
You're quoting Goldman Sachs. So
yes, Goldman Sachs, correct.
I made
Which I said, yeah.
I made a good career trading against Goldman Sachs.
Okay, all right.
In Europe, countries like Germany, France, Italy, and the UK have all paused deliveries, many citing a lack of time to implement new customs and duty collection systems, or uncertainty about how to do so properly. And it's more than just shipping delays, right? It's a lack of trustworthiness when it comes to dealing with the United States at this moment. Countries are seeing this tariff move as abrupt, poorly communicated, and disruptive to trade norms. US allies are complaining of operational confusion and financial risk, especially smaller postal operators that cannot absorb the burden of collecting duties or risk non-compliance, which, by the way, in itself is indicative of the repercussions both at home and abroad as a result of the unpredictable US economic policy under Donald Trump. Small international businesses are being hit hard, both overseas and with US consumers relying on affordable imports. They're seeing costs spike across the country and deliveries delayed or even cancelled.
A host of global postal services temporarily suspended parcel shipments to the US early this week. Taiwan's national postal provider, Japan Post and Australia Post were among a number to take action. They did so after President Donald Trump's administration cancelled a customs tax rule that allowed low-value packages to enter duty-free. Ko Ching-chang is a director at Taiwan's Chunghwa Post.
This issue is one that postal services around the world are facing together. It mainly stems from airlines being unable to carry out such shipments due to the tariffs involved. As a result, we had no choice but to make a difficult decision. That's why, as of yesterday, we officially ceased handling low-value duty-free parcels. And starting today, we are suspending the acceptance of such items.
The US government last month moved to suspend a de minimis exemption for low-value shipments. It said packages valued at or under $800 sent to the country would face all applicable duties from August 29th. Goods shipped through the postal system would face one of two tariffs. One is a duty equal to the effective tariff rate of the package's country of origin, or a specific duty of $80 to $200 depending on the country of origin's tariff rate. Several European carriers also temporarily suspended parcel shipments. It included Swiss Post and DHL, which runs Germany's postal service Deutsche Post.
I mean, just look at that for a second. The rise in prices, which Trump denies, the cost of living, which is skyrocketing. When Fox News are describing it as the American dream turned into a nightmare, you know that it's bad.
American dream is looking more like a nightmare for some working families. New research finding that the lifetime cost of hitting the traditional milestones, things like homeownership, retirement, kids' college, healthcare, weddings, cars, vacations, etc., now totals a staggering $5 million. And here's the kicker. Americans haven't gotten any richer over the last 5 years. Wages flat, savings weak, costs through the roof. Kenny, when I just have conversations with real people about how they're feeling, they don't focus on the inflation rate or the data or a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the technical aspect of the markets here.
Right.
What they tell me is this: you've seen prices go up. This rate of inflation, okay, that's come down, but the prices never came down.
Right.
And I didn't make more money. And so the value of my dollar essentially deflated. A lot of people, stock market investing has become more ubiquitous with Robinhood and all of these things, and during the pandemic, because people felt like they were chasing the inflation rate. If you just left your money sitting in a savings account or a CD, you're getting completely crushed.
Completely crushed.
So all that money pours into the stock market. The stock market keeps going up, but people aren't necessarily getting richer because of how much more everything costs.
Right. Right. I mean, they might be seeing...
And they're taking risk.
Correct. They're taking risk. Probably some of them are taking more risk than they should. But they're trying to play catch up, right? Because the money that they're saving, they're trying to put to work to them. But to your point, the everyday costs remain elevated. Prices, while they've stopped going up at the rate that they were going, have remained elevated.
But the bigger question for the Trump administration is, was all the tariffs worth it? I mean, the tariffs will just appear as this hard-ass strongman ruling the country, but the cost isn't just measured in the response to the tariffs, right? But poll after poll are showing that the American people are turning on him regarding the economy, which shows that the cost isn't just measured in tariffs. It's in trust, reliability, and reputation, all of which are fast deteriorating.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.